Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So today I want to talk to you about the top 17 biggest killers during SHTF, or a post-collapse environment, a situation where we have a grid down, no electricity, Mad Max sort of kind of collapse. Now, these numbers here, what I've done is I went and I took a look at the International Medical Volunteers Association, and they had an article on there that talked about the leading causes of death in the developing world. And so I thought maybe we could draw a little bit of a parallel between the developing world, third world countries, and what we may find in some kind of a bad situation, whatever you want to call that. But a lot of people tend to put a lot of focus on other people being the biggest threats. And I agree to a certain extent that it's possible that other people will be, big threats, And I think the closer you live to an urban city center, then the closer, or the more true that's going to be. But there are a lot of people who live in rural areas and stuff like that, and they know their neighbors and they know the people they live in their town with and stuff, and it may not be as much of a case, for them. But regardless, if there's a situation where there isn't any electricity and there is maybe civil war and a lot of people are dying and services are down and doctors and hospitals aren't functioning correctly and all that kind of stuff, and all that stuff goes on for a long period, it would be very similar to a developing country. So I just wanted to go down this list and kind of talk to you about some of these things, and the purpose of this being that you guys could hopefully try to get a little bit of understanding of some of these diseases. Perhaps add things to your medical preps to be able to deal with them better. Like I said, get training, whatever the case may be. Just mostly just be aware of it, and hopefully potentially plan for it however you think is best for your situation. So basically this is broken down into two categories. The first one is infectious, and the second one is just basically all other things, So the top of the list in the infectious category is just respiratory infections. So you may want to look at, some common antibiotics to deal with respiratory infections and stuff like that. And I can definitely see this being true, with people cooking, over wood fires and all that kind of stuff. It's probably going to be a lot more issues with, bronchitis and all this different kinds of things, just different kinds of respiratory infections in general. So that's number one. And the numbers that this article had is, that's about 3.9 million people die from this every year in the developing countries. The next one on the list is diarrheal diseases. And we've talked about this on my channel a lot, and on a lot of other survival and prepping channels. Knowing how to purify water and not drinking from unsafe sources is huge. And just basic sanitation, keeping yourself clean, having the items and the supplies to be able to keep yourself clean during some kind of a disaster is important, because you're not going to be able to go to the store. You're probably not going to have running water, so you need to plan for those kinds of things. The numbers here say that this diarrheal diseases every year, and that's basically current times, kill 2.8 million people. So imagine how many folks that's going to affect. So antidiarrheals, again, antibiotics, for diarrheal diseases, those kind of things, stocking up on those kind of things could be important. The next one on the list is tuberculosis, and again, that makes sense. And malaria is another one. This obviously makes a lot of sense as well. Mosquitoes, they're right now they're controlled in a lot of places. They're poisoned and killed and all that kind of stuff. Once the grid is down, then that's not going to be the case, and we're going to have probably a lot of mosquitoes to deal with. So having mosquito netting and repellent and all those kind of things could be really important. Here's another one: tetanus. I had no idea that 500,000 people per year still die from tetanus. That's crazy. We don't think about that in our society, but it does happen, and it makes a lot of sense. Dealing with old parts, trying to restore things, cutting yourself, rusty items, whatever the case may be. It kind of makes sense to me. Another one is pertussis. 321,000 people die from pertussis each year. HIV. Now this one, 248,000 people die per year from HIV. I can imagine that number going up considerably, especially when you consider that most people aren't going to have birth control, and they're still going to be having sex, and so those the breakdown of society is probably going to result in a breakdown of social order and social norms. So you'll probably see a lot of promiscuous sex and stuff like that. And so we could very well see HIV becoming a big deal again and following on, with AIDS, especially since the expensive medications that they have nowadays are definitely not going to be available. So that one could be something that could grow very big. But again, it's something that you can plan for ahead of time, by stockpiling contraceptives, rubbers, whatever the case may be. Meningitis kills 233,000 people per year. Syphilis, believe it or not, and I think this one kind of falls in the same category as HIV, but syphilis kills 190,000 people per year. And then the last one is other infections, and that covers about 1 million people per year. So the next category, starting at the top, actually it's not at the top, these are not necessarily in order, is perinatal issues. So issues revolving around childbirth, that 5-month period or so before childbirth, and then like the month or so afterwards. About 2.4 million people die from childbirth. And if you think about it, if sex increases or if sex happens a lot without a lot of protection, you're going to have a lot of childbirths. And without having doctors there to be able to treat those complications and stuff, you could start to see a lot of increases in child deaths. Learning how to deliver a baby properly and all that kind of stuff is something that you could do now to help deal with those situations. Congenital birth defects is about 589,000 deaths per year. Other pregnancy-related deaths, and I think this is talking about during delivery itself, as opposed to natural causes during the perinatal process, is 427,000 per year. Injuries, think about this. I mean, just you're dehydrated, you're stressed, you're not getting enough food, you're absolutely going to get more injuries, hurting yourself and getting infections and stuff like that. That's going to lead to bigger problems, or just trying to do things that you don't know how to do, and end up hurting yourself. And they say that causes about 3.4 million deaths per year. Cancer is another one. Obviously, we have come a long way in cancer treatments, but when there's no doctors and all that there's going to be a whole lot more deaths from cancer. And currently in the developing world, there's about 3.6 million deaths per year in cancer. Cardiovascular disease is the biggest on the list. And again, not having the ability to treat or pre-treat any of those things, do open heart surgeries or any of that kind of stuff, or heart medication, blood pressure medications, those are not going to be available. This is going to go up a lot probably, and it currently kills 9 million people per year in the developing world. And then chronic respiratory illness, and that kills 2.3 million people per year. So, like I said, a lot of times I think we lose focus on we from the movies and stuff like that we see, like Mad Max and other things. We think we focus on gangs, we focus on bad people and the the horde of marauders and brigands and all this kind of stuff, whatever you want to call them, bad guys, you know, and they may be a problem to a certain extent, especially at the very beginning. But I tend to think, as I talked about in the video the other day on Looters Will Die First, that they're not going to be as big of a problem as a lot of other things like these 17 things. You know, so prioritize what you spend your time worrying about, what you spend your time learning about, and learning how to defeat. And maybe you can head off some of these issues that we talked about here just now. So I would be, you know, curious to know what you guys think. If there are other ones that should be on this list of the top killers in SHTF kind of environment, then put those in the comments below. I'd be curious to see what you say about that. As always, guys, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button and when you share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Sharing the videos does a whole lot for my channel and, you know, for helping to grow the channel and all that kind of stuff, and I definitely appreciate it. Also, don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.